everybody to the Invest podcast. My guest I have right now, it's an honor to be speaking with him. I'm going to list a few of his accolades, and I'm sure there are many more. This man is a former NCAA all-conference running back with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. This man is also a two-time all-academic ACC student athlete. This man is also, he's a podcaster. He's an author. This man is a coach and a guru. I want to welcome, let me forget, this man also is a former NFL running back with the Baltimore Ravens. I want to welcome Prince Daniels Jr. to the Invest podcast. Prince, how are you? Thank you for coming.
And I'm doing amazing. How are you today?
I'm good, man. It's good. I'm good. I'm in Sacramento. Where are you actually at right now, Prince?
I'm in San Diego, California. So we're on that west side.
Nice out there, Prince.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Just to get started, can you go ahead and tell my listeners and my viewers where you from, Prince?
I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I was born there, but H-Town, but I grew up in Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So all my Mississippians out there, what's going on?
All right. Man, I know your story. Your story is one of courage. It is an inspiring story and just a super motivational story. I was sitting out reading about you, and I'm reading about what you did and what you're choosing to do now. And I was like, I got to reach out. I put it out there, and I really hope to get this man onto the podcast. So, Prince, can you tell me a little bit? So I know you played, football, and you had success in football. You got a bowl championship record that still stands. Man, you had 4 touchdowns. I believe I read 311 yards. And it still stands. Can you talk a little bit about where your football journey started? When did you decide you wanted to play football?
Yeah, man, my football journey started when I was younger. I was quite fond of football. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I just enjoyed watching it. And the part that I enjoyed the most was just the competition level and being able to express yourself in this form, using this platform. And so, it started off with just being outside, just playing touch football on the concrete with my family and friends, right? And my brothers and my cousins, and then it just kind of developed into me wanting to play in the NFL. When I was 8 years old, I remember watching TV with my mom, and I saw. I was probably a little bit older than 8, somewhere like around between 8 and 11 years old. And I just remember watching TV and watching Barry Sanders. He did a move and he scored a touchdown, man. And right then and there, I just remember my eyes welling up with tears. And I looked at my mom and I said, "Mom, I'm going to be in the NFL." Because I just knew at that moment in time, I wanted to do exactly what he just did. And that's when I made it up in my mind that I was going to play in the NFL. And that's when my journey really begun. And I stayed focused throughout that whole time because that was the goal. And so no matter what, it seemed like I had the support system and the foundation around me to usher me in that direction and never falter and stay focused on the goal at hand. And that was to make it to the NFL.
And you did that, and you played NCAA football, all-conference running back, Georgia Tech. You made that. So I did read in there that you did when you first went out there, and you were actually a walk-on at Georgia Tech, and you weren't actually recruited. So you actually walked on. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I wasn't a slouch coming out of high school. I was highly recruited coming out of high school.
Okay.
I just did not have the numbers when it came to the standardized tests versus the grades. So I didn't do well on the standardized tests, but I had incredible grades. So I was really, really smart in the classroom. And that was mainly because, the information, I just download the information, regurgitated on the test, and that was it. So I didn't have to remember the information to use it anymore. Right. And the standardized test, it was just the a long test taking process, and
Yeah.
and at that time there were a lot of athletes having other people take their tests, so I had a lot of pride. One, and then two, I was known within the 100-mile radius, so I had to go outside the 100-mile radius for someone else to take my test because everyone knew me, and so I had to take the test myself, and
Yeah.
I didn't do so well, but so I was a walk on. I ended up getting recruited by several other schools, but when I didn't do well on the standardized tests, they took back their scholarships, and that just left me just not knowing where to go. I was offered a partial scholarship to North Texas, but I turned that down because I didn't want to stay in Texas. I wanted to go outside of Houston, where I grew up, where I spent a lot of my time growing up, and then from there. Um, One of the coaches came to recruit at our high school for the first year, but he was coming to recruit someone else. My coach told him about me and just like, hey, man, we got a diamond in the rough, man. Just check this kid out. He came and spoke to me, and he was just like, man, you look good. You look really well on the film. Let's see if we can get you into Georgia Tech. I go there with the unofficial visit, and I check out Georgia Tech, place that I really love. Actually, that was my last option too. So uh, uh, they told me that they could not give me a scholarship, but they will see if they can, if I can get accepted into school, then they
Hmm.
can see if they can help me out. So I applied for Georgia Tech. I applied to Georgia Tech, and I made the team. I mean, I'm sorry, I was accepted into Georgia Tech. From there, I joined the football team and made the team, but there was a lot more work to be done. I started off at number 5 on the depth chart at running back. Then it went from number 5 to number 7, and from there, it was just like it was a lot of hard work and overcoming a lot of adversity, but I was able to prevail when it was all said and done.
Yeah, because I read that it was not easy for you, and I actually read that there was one of your coaches that actually had some doubt that you would actually make the team. Was that just because of what was that about? I did read something about that.
It, so the coach was actually the one that was like the gatekeeper
Okay.
to to making decisions on who's going to play and who's not going to play. And so since I was a walk on, considered a walk on, he
Hmm.
told me that my chances of playing at Georgia Tech were 1 in a million, and my chances of playing in the NFL are 1 in a billion.
Wait a
And
minute. Whoa. 1 in a billion. Based on those numbers, you would have a better chance of hitting the lottery if we were going by those numbers. I don't believe there are a billion people in a country.
right.
Wow. Those are his
Yeah.
actual words.
Those are his actual words. Those are his actual words. And then he echoed that with "you suck." All right. And so telling a 19-year-old these cruel and harsh and debilitating words, can be very impressionable. But I took those words and I used it as fuel to propel me to be, uh, one of the greatest running backs in Georgia Tech history. And
Yeah.
and without being so incredulous, I would give him some of that praise, not purposefully, but accidentally, because I don't think he was saying it to actually see if I was going to defy, the limitations that they were creating, that he was creating for me. You know, I think he said it in the way that he meant it. He just told me that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't going to be good enough. So growing up, my father used to always tell me that there's nothing that you cannot do. As long as you have a sound mind, and a faithful heart, like you can do anything that you want to do. And so my dad came from another country, so he had the mindset of understanding like there's nothing that's possible, son. So he instilled that in me. Actually, that was probably in my DNA, because that's just what I knew. I just that's all that I knew. And And so I made it up in my mind that I wasn't going to allow for anyone to take my dream away from me. And
I love
so
it.
from that moment, you know, I worked twice as hard. I worked as hard as like a LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, where someone told me that I sucked and I wouldn't amount to anything. And so I would work out. We would have our scheduled workouts with the team, and then I would work out on top of that
Oof.
because there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to make my dream become a reality. And that's what I did.
So Prince, you had that fire. I mean,
I
you
did.
you had to be like a dog, man, because a lot of people, Prince, and it happens like every day, and people will tell them they're not good enough, they can't do this and that, and some people, unfortunately, actually believe that. So, like, what advice would you give to those people? Because one person or two people's opinion of you does not have to define you. So, what advice would you give to people dealing with something similar? Maybe not in football, it could be just in life and in business in general.
Believe in yourself. Who else gonna believe in you? Huh? Who else gonna believe in you? True, who else gonna believe in you? Believe in
Yeah,
yourself. You know,
definitely.
and what I mean by that is no one's gonna believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. Right? So it's very simple. No one will ever notice anything about you if you don't do anything to make yourself noticeable. So how could the coaches believe in me if I didn't believe in myself? Like, I have to be able to believe in myself, see myself doing the things that I know that I can do, that I desire to do. And eventually it catches someone's eye, and it catches the
Mhm.
next person's eye and the next person's eye. And they collectively start to believe that I can do what is needed to do. I
Mhm.
can become the leader. And so when I believed in myself, everyone else started believing in me. And so that's what I say to everyone else. Believe in yourself so much so that everyone else has to believe in you as well. And they feel the energy. The energy is contagious, it's infectious. And you go from being a follower to a leader, right? And
Definitely. I
you
love it.
change the course of the trajectory of being a 1 in a million to 1 in a billion, to being that million and being that that statistic, that number that defies all the odds,
Hmm.
and achieve all of those odds, and not just excel in athletics but also in academics as well. So I appreciate you mentioning that at the very beginning, because that's something that I'm really proud of more than
Hmm.
anything, because that's what my dad used to always preach. Education first. Your books. Stay your. I don't care about sports. I want you to be smart.
Be smart.
Like sports is just a small part of your life.
Uh-huh.
Your books, and that stayed with me. So I was extremely proud when I made all academic
Mm.
and at the same time all conference. And so that just shows you, the work that I put in. So I didn't just work hard on the field, but I also worked hard off the field as well.
Most definitely. I'm gonna touch on football for a quick more second. Then we're gonna go into some of your other accolades, man, because you've
Awesome.
done like so many things off of the field, helping individuals, helping athletes. But let's talk really quickly. Let's talk about that bowl game. I want to hear about that. I'm a football guy, and I hear a guy running for 311 yards in a bowl game,
Yeah.
4 TDs. Man, that was a while back, but I know that game still sticks in your mind. I mean, bro, like how? Can we talk about that real quick? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, talk about it, man. It was Boise, Idaho. We had the
Mhm.
humanitarian bowl. We played
Okay.
against Tulsa, and it was one of those days where I was in the zone,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just out there just having a good time. We had a really good bowl, like, activities that were going on, really good bowl time in Boise, Idaho. We never really been. It was so much snow out there.
Yeah.
You know, had a great time with my teammates and my coaches. And just this one particular day, I was just feeling it. Just like,
It's no.
I was in the zone. The team had told me that they were just like, "Oh man, we're gonna shut you down." And I remember right before the game, I was telling my coach, I was like, "Coach, I don't think they really understand what's about to happen." And I wasn't trying. I just had that mindset, like, I don't they don't understand it. They don't get it.
They don't know.
Yeah. And so it was about -5 degrees,
Jesus.
and the sun was still out.
Ah,
And we had the game on the blue field,
yeah,
and
the blue.
on the blue field,
My
and
man ran for 311 yards and minus below 5.
minus below 5, man. And I remember uh my the first half, I didn't even know what was going on. They said that I had 179 yards in the first half, and I didn't even know. I was just like, 179 yards. I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
And so halftime came around. And when halftime came around, my head coach, Coach Chan Gailey, shout out to Coach Gailey, he said, he said, "Hey man, it's cold outside. The wide receivers are having a hard time catching the ball.
Yeah.
We're gonna continue to run it. You up for it?" It's like, yeah, that's fine. That was my that was my response and my reaction. Like, yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So we go out there, and man, I just break more, break out, and like full force, just like, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not taking all that credit, because my linemen, man, I got to give my linemen so much credit, because they created so many holes that I could run through, man. So shout outs to all my linemen during that
For sure.
2003,
So love the big
2004.
guys.
Right, always, man. You gotta get a credit to them, because they paved the way for me to be able to run through those holes. And like, we were just in sync, in harmony. We were just having a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
So and also, the reason why I have to give my linemen so much credit is because when I was at 289 yards, my coach had took me out, and this was like the third quarter just ended.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And my coach had pulled me out, and my lineman was like, "Coach, please just let him stay in, so we can
Let's
just
do it. Let's
just
get
let him get
it.
300 yards. Please just let him get 300 yards." And he said, "All right, when he gets 300 yards, I'm going to pull him out." They was like,
Mhm.
all right. So, the fact that they begged my coach to do that, just speaks volumes about how selfless they were,
Mhm.
and they really respected me. And for that, I'll be forever, grateful for my brothers for doing something like that, because that speaks volumes. And so, ran a couple more plays, made another touchdown, and my coach pulled me out, and it was still 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And but I definitely could have gotten an easy 400, 500 yards, if they would have kept me in. But
Unreal.
we had another running back, a couple more running backs that needed to get some runs in as well, man. So
Yeah.
I couldn't take all the all the accolades and the gains. I would like to share the fame with my
Yeah.
teammates, because it's not about me. It's about all of us, because teamwork makes a dream work. And so
Right.
I enjoy being a part of that team, man.
Awesome. So we know you went on to play in the National Football League. That's a huge accomplishment, because just to get there, there's so many players in college, and it's a very small percentage that even get onto an active roster. And I know that injuries and things like that actually did shorten your career. And I know that you found meditation. So
Right.
did meditation, Prince, that come after you're away from the game and just trying to kind of find your identity, to find out who is Prince without football?
No, actually, meditation had been a part of my game for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't really get serious about it until my going into my second year in the NFL.
Okay.
when I said to myself that I want to separate myself from everyone, from the
Mm-hmm.
competition. I want to be able to be the elite amongst the elite.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I've been practicing meditation since high school, but
Okay.
it never really stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And in college, you hear in all of my interviews, I talk about practicing meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because I actually had a chance to look at some of my old videos, and I was just like, man, I've been on this tip for a very long time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's really cool to see your journey. Uh, um, whenever you get a chance to reflect on what were some of the things that you were doing back in your younger days. And it was always talking about this meditation and improving myself. And
Awesome.
so,
Meditation. Okay.
yeah. And so I get to the league. And when I get to the league, I realized that I have some skills that I have not tapped into and have a lot more potential for growth. So I started diving in a little bit deeper with meditation because now I am a professional. And so now I need to take my game to a whole nother level because I'm playing against the number one defense every day. I'm practicing against the number one defense every day. And I realized that if I go against the number one defense every day, then that means when I go against the number two, number three, number four, I'm going to dominate and I'm going to win. And that's when I started really becoming a student of the game and wanting to learn more so I can dominate at a very high level. And so I started diving in deeper to meditation, which seems like it was the last puzzle piece for me to become an ultimate player. And so my career was cut short due to injuries. And after that, the meditation was the thing that was still around that I was able to lean upon once my career was over prematurely, once I suffered a self identity crisis and became extremely lost and uh, depression came. It was present in my life, and I didn't know which way to turn. I didn't know who to turn to, and so the one thing that I did turn to was what I mentioned earlier, me inside of me. I looked inside of me to remember who I was because I identify myself like all athletes to a fault that I'm an athlete first and a human being second, right? And so once I start really introducing myself as my name is Prince, as opposed to my name is the Baltimore Ravens running back
Mm-hmm.
Prince Daniels, or PJ Daniels,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to prioritize things, and so I have to put myself first, and that's what I learned from the meditation, and that's what it taught me by default. Because at first I wanted to use it to create separation in being one of the best players in the NFL, but since it didn't work out like that, uh, meditation was that safety net that caught me before um, everything just went into everything was AY, and I didn't, before I lost control of who I was, meditation helped me find myself, and that's when I really started diving deeper into it because when you are let go from a sport or just a profession or a career, you have to realize that it's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You are in a relationship. And exactly. So my identity was tied up in that relationship. And it's just like any relationship. You're in a relationship with someone, you're doing all the right things, you're showing up, you're putting your best foot forward. You're going to counseling if you need to go to counseling, and therapy if you need to go to therapy. You're showing up early, you're leaving late.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day your spouse just says, I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm gonna find someone else. And you're like, what? I didn't put
What?
all my time and my energy into this
Right.
relationship, and now you're gonna do this to me? And
Yeah.
so there's nothing that you can do about it. There's no revenge. There's and you're left with all the anger and the animosity. And
Yeah.
so you have to learn how to channel that energy and recycle it and reuse it and refuel yourself to be able to go in a different direction and do something that's constructive and not destructive. And
Yeah.
so that's what I discovered. And thanks to meditation, man, it helped save my life and put me on the path that I've always been on, but really becoming aware that I have a bigger purpose. And that bigger purpose is to help these other athletes and other human beings and individuals in this world to believe in themselves, as you were asking me, and invest in themselves.
Love it. So as we talk about your journey, and we talk, you just touched on helping these other athletes, because you'll hear stories about you play a sport your whole life. You talk about, and you're not playing anymore. It's like, who are you? People go in depression and they self-destruct. You hear about rabid drug abuse. You hear about alcoholism. Can you talk to us a little bit about the organization you founded, The Game Beyond the Game? Let's go into that a little bit, Prince.
Most definitely. So the Game Beyond the Game is an ecosystem that I created for professional athletes that are looking to transition out of the game, or they're in the game and they don't know how to transition. And so what I did, I created a smoother transition for these individuals so they can tap into themselves, because I want them to understand that the most important thing that you need in all of these transitions is your mind, your body, your spirit, your emotions, and your energy.
No doubt.
And a lot of times when we transition from anything that we do, our emotions may stay behind, but our body leave, and our mind is still over in this space as well, because it's not thinking about the present moment. And our spirit is just kind of like confused, trying to figure out which way to go. Like, where's your desire at? I know your love is still over here, but physically we're over here, and energetically we're it's over here, we're over here or over there. So throughout this transition, what I do, I teach these players, or these athletes, should I say, because they're no longer players, these athletes, former athletes or current athletes, how to transition properly and in a more smooth and effective way, so that way that they don't experience what I experience, the depression, the loss of self-identity, and 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 not understanding who they are as them, and they were them before they became the professional athlete. But again, it's a relationship, and so you have to be okay with the breakup in the relationship, and you can control what you have control over, but the stuff that you do not have control over, don't try to waste your energy in trying to control it. So I created Game Beyond the Game for that reason, to help these athletes and create a safe haven in the ecosystem, so that they can understand how to uh, uh, transition in a smoother fashion.
Most definitely. That's awesome. So, like I said, man, you decided to give back. You decided to invest. Also, really quick, I want to talk about that poster you got behind you, that book. Talk about the mindfulness of the ultimate athlete, mastering the balance between power and peace. What is that book about? I've heard like great reviews on that book. And what made you decide, like, hey, I want to put a book out? When did that start to come to fruition?
Well, when I was spending my time at the monastery, I lived at a monastery, and while I was there, I knew that I wanted to write a book uh, to athletes about how to tap into your greatness. Because while playing sports, I was able to reach the zone, or I was able to thrust myself into the zone from sheer a sheer desire of will, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew I could will myself to do this, and within doing that, it thrusted me into the zone. And so, spending my time at the monastery, I was able to get into the zone without the physical exertion, the physical action. And so I started realizing, like, wow, hold on, this is the same space I went to when I was playing ball, and this is the same place I went to when I was practicing meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had learned how to merge the two and decided to put it in a book to share with athletes and let them know that the only limitations are the ones that you set for yourself. And there are no limitations. You can do anything if you really focus your mind and allow for your heart to connect and fuel that vision, that image that you have in your head, and use that energy and motion, which is emotions, energy, emotions, energy, and motion, to help your dream become a reality. And this book touches on how to use the practice of mindfulness and meditation to help propel you, not only in the game, but also in life, because we are all athletes in this game of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay,
So this
awesome.
book is applicable to every single walk of life, because we being an athlete is a mindset. All right. And so as long as you have that mindset of you always want to improve yourself, enrich, enhance, your abilities, your skills, then you can use this book for some simple practices and techniques that will help, enhance your ability to be the best version of yourself.
I love it, Prince. That's awesome. Hey, Prince, real quick before I let you go, let's talk a little bit about the Prince Daniels podcast and how my listeners can definitely listen to that. I've heard some episodes, Prince, like you said, we're all athletes. I believe that your podcast and your message, it's something that can be offered to pretty much almost everybody, not just the former pro player.
Right. Yeah. So my podcast, the Prince Daniels Jr. Show, is a podcast that I started because I was inspired to just speak. My spirit is burning with a light, a fuel inside of it, and I use my spirit, my in spirit, to inspire, others. And uh, I want to make sure that I share stories and share some life lessons with you, so that way you can use those life lessons and turn them into tools that you can use to, better your life. And so you can find that on Apple, Spotify, and I drop episodes Sunday and Mondays, to make sure that you can catch them. It's also, I have some other things on my YouTube page, which is Prince ADJR, where you can find some of the latest things that I'm doing as well, some of the interviews that I'm actually giving or that I'm being interviewed. And also, you can go to my website, at www.princedanielsjr.com. It's funny, my team always tell me to stop saying www, so I need to get out of that habit. But you can go to princedanielsjr.com and
Okay.
find out more information on what I'm doing. My 6-week masterclass, where I teach you how to elevate your thoughts, open up your heart, and unlock your peak performance.
Wow.
Which allows for you to be ready for that moment of peak performance when it arises. So I'm just keeping myself busy,
Yeah.
but and just doing the work, right? Doing the work, so I can
Nice.
make
The
sure
work.
that everybody in this world can be inspired by
Mm-hmm.
something that I say, that I do, because I love to lead by example, and just make sure that you remember that the light that I'm allowing to shine through me, you have that same light inside of you. And so when you learn how to tap into it, you can let your light shine just as bright as the sun.
Yeah, Prince, that's what the Invest podcast is about. That's why I wanted to bring on, you as my first guest and other motivational, inspirational individuals such as yourself that are really doing awesome things and investing in yourself and investing in others and pretty much walking it like you talk it. Prince, before I let you go, do you have any parting words for any of my listeners? Any motivational quotes, one or two, maybe you can leave us with before we get out of here?
Motivational quotes. if you feel like you're stuck, no matter where you are in your life in this world, learn the practice of mindfulness and meditation, because it allows for you to go within. And when you go within, you go up. Let me say that one more time. When you go within, you go up. All right. And the reason why is because you change your vantage point, your perception on how you view things in life. And I use this analogy whenever you get inside of an airplane and it's raining and you go past the clouds, you realize that the sun is always out. So it's your perception of, oh, it's a rainy day. But once you get past those clouds, it's always a sunny day. Or when you're 30,000 feet above ground and you look at buildings that were pretty big when you were eye level, when you were on the ground level, those buildings seem to look very small.
Right.
From that view, 30,000 feet above ground. And so they don't look so big. They look small. And the same thing goes for your problems or the trials and tribulations that you're facing. And you need to be able to see them or see your problems for what they are, something that's small and insignificant, and that you can get through it. So those are my parting words.
Awesome, Prince. It's been an honor to have you. If you have, go ahead and pick up Mindfulness for the Ultimate Athlete. I believe they have it on sale on Amazon. Go ahead and check it out. I've actually ordered myself a copy of it as well. It's actually coming Amazon Prime the next day or so. I can't wait to definitely crack that open and dissect that. Prince Daniel, it has been an honor having you on the Invest podcast. Man, I'm definitely going to stay with you, keeping in contact and keeping tabs on what you got going on, man, and stay motivated. And, man, have a great day. And, again, thanks for coming on the Invest podcast. Prince Daniels Jr., everybody. Have a good one, Prince.
Have a good one. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you.
All right, man. Peace out.
All right. Peace out.